The first man in my life was a Mr. Darcy, who I met at the age of 11, and no real-life teenage boy could ever hope to challenge his place in my heart. Now that I'm grown up, on paper at least, I still haven't found a man to equal Mr. Darcy or the incomparable Rhett Butler. It's a good thing my husband's so very understanding. And I'm not the only woman leading a double life. On average, British women buy 10 million romantic novels a year. That's one every 5 seconds. Research has shown that in the short term, reading this kind of book improves your mood, and in the long term, it does things for your sex life. The enduring appeal of romantic fiction suggests that British women like a fictional bit on the side, particularly if he's got a house in the country and some tight-fitting knee breeches.
Mr. Darcy. Well, who doesn't fancy Mr. Darcy?
I think Mr. Darcy's gorgeous.
Mr. Darcy's after the sex. I think sex would turn out to be his language.
Mr. Rochester has allure, the allure of the unknown country.
Well, he's sexy as hell. He's saturnine and dark. He's very masculine. He's ironic. He's got a sense of humour.
I reckon that Heathcliff is my number one. Smouldering implacability. Very, very sexy.
My favourite hero in romantic fiction has to be Rhett Butler. He's sex on legs.
He was kind, but he was also edgy, and I do like strong men, and he was a strong man.
But even if I'm not the only woman who has a crush on a fictional man, I can't help feeling guilty about it. I went to seek professional help. I've been kind of falling for having crushes on men in books since I was about, I don't know, I think it started with The Scarlet Pimpernel when I was about 7, and then Mr. Darcy, and then a bit later on Rhett Butler. And I think, you know, it's pretty much formed my sort of wish list for men ever since. Do you think is that odd? Is that unusual?
It's certainly not odd, because all the great romantic heroes of fiction tend to become taken up into people's fantasy life. If you're sitting in bed in the evening reading a romantic novel next to your lifeless husband, if you're reading about some fantastic male hero in the book, much better that you expect to find that hero in the book than you start to expect it in your husband. People have fantasy lives, both men and women. Men often commit an infidelity where they'll try and find a flesh and blood woman beyond their real partner. Women, of course, they can do the same thing, but also, to a large extent, they can be in the arms of their man, they can be making love with their man, while in their minds they're imagining that they're with someone else.
In every bookshop in Britain, there are hundreds of men just waiting to be picked up.
My favourite romantic hero has to be Mr. Rochester.
Mr. Rochester was the first person I ever did fall in love with in a book. Rhett Butler was a close second.
Rhett Butler is, I think he's every woman's romantic hero, really.
My favourite romantic hero would have to be Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice.
Yes, I think everybody falls in love with, or women fall in love with Mr. Darcy. Yeah.
Coincidentally, he's tall, dark, handsome, and owns most of Derbyshire. Could that be, I wonder, ideal CV for a romantic hero? What's so interesting is that what worked for Jane Austen clearly still works today. According to a recent survey, Mr. Darcy is the man most women want to go on a date with and is the most sought-after dinner party guest in Britain.
It's always surprised me that he's considered so sexy, and this is before people saw television series or films. I mean, he's always been considered that, you know, through the ages. He certainly doesn't do it for me.
It is interesting that Jane Austen appeals to so many millions today, although she is writing, of course, essentially about a very, very different world. And the romantic aspect of her novels still engages us. And, of course, we are interested in her heroes. They manage to be rather dashing and romantic, but they're all strong men, really.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Mrs. Bennet, may I present my friend, Mr. Darcy?
You are very welcome to Hertfordshire, I am sure, sir. And I hope you have come here eager to dance, as your friend has.
Thank you, madam. I rarely dance.
Well, let this be one of the occasions, sir, for I wager you'll not easily find such lively music or such pretty partners.
No,